All right, I got to count it down again. 4, 3,
3,
2,
1. 2,
1.
Yeah.
2, 1.
Yeah, that works.
There we go. Hi, this is Peter, and this is Steve.
Steve.
And this PnS Waste Your Time.
That's who we are.
I thought I'd introduce you as a courtesy, but I can understand how that makes me kind of seem like a jackass. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. No, it's not fine.
That'll do, Steven. That'll do. Do you want to try it again? We'll just try it again. Hi, everybody. My name's Pete.
And I don't even want to do it anymore. Now I just feel weird doing it.
And this is PnS Waste Your Time.
We are wasting your time today, tomorrow.
We're wasting your time.
Yeah, make sure you have these on loop.
Bottom side.
So that you can give us all that money.
We try to cut these down so that you can listen to them at least
3-4 times.
48 times a day. And I think, honestly, if you're a fan of this podcast and you aren't doing that, you're well, maybe you aren't exactly.
You're doing a disservice to yourself by not listening.
You're doing a disservice to yourself and us, and that seems worse, honestly.
100%.
Because we work really, really hard. Extremely hard. Extremely hard.
I don't want to lie to them.
You know who's not sponsoring our podcast this week, Steve?
Who?
Check it out.
Jonas Curse.
Who's that?
Jonas Curse. Rum.
Oh, Jonas Curse. You know all
about the Jonas Curse.
Oh my gosh, dude. I haven't had that since I've been on the diet.
Now, see, the backstory here is that you gave it to me when we were both on low carb, and I drank it, and I said, there's no way this shit has no carbs, so I sent an email to literally the company that makes it, and they said, yep, it's got no carbs. It also turns out it's on the low end of the calorie spectrum, so it's fitting me trying to watch what I eat/drink.
It's a great rum, and what's strange is online, I just kind of browsed it, and the ratings for it are all over the place. There's some people that rate like a 1. There's some that rate it a 6 or a 7. There's some that rate like a 9 or a 10.
I love it. I couldn't really understand someone that doesn't. It's on the sweeter side, I'd say, of a rum, but it's got enough rumminess. But to be honest, I mean, it's the fact that it doesn't have carbs was really suspicious to me initially. And I said to myself, there's no way it can do it. That's what prompted the email. What I learned kind of, messing with homebrew here at my own house, a lot of the breweries, and I'm assuming the distilleries, they back sweeten their stuff.
I believe
But
it.
the biggest offender of this is apparently wine. Certain liquors are sweetened, they certainly back sweeten or flavor. Some beers, though I'm going to say less beers probably do that overall. But wine comes out kind of sour, kind of gross. You get so
they sweeten it up.
They sweeten it up and they back sweeten it. And I guess it also acts as a preservative.
Isn't that what gives you most of the hangovers as well, when things are really sugary and kind of dehydrating you in a way?
Right. I think that's kind of what it is. I know from personal experience, anything that's specifically sugary certainly fucks you up the next morning way worse. But I'll be honest, they're not sponsoring us now. I would totally take a sponsorship from Jonas Curse and what must be the crates and crates of that stuff they'll send us just to talk about it.
Yeah, I would talk about it. Not every single. I'll drink it every podcast if they give it to us. Screw the
exactly.
diet.
The only downside to that is sometimes I get drunk. I'm just gonna be
help computer
full Monty here. Sometimes I get drunk.
You really?
Off the Jonas Curse, and I start calling it the Jonas Curse, which is like a Disney Channel thing. So I don't want to misrepresent what Jonas Curse is.
I don't think they mind either way. They got enough money.
You have to think about it's the factual biblical story of the man who was eaten by a whale because God didn't like him. The actual biblical story.
For some reason,
it was written
I heard
down.
like actual fictional. I'm like, absolutely, 100%.
I don't think you're that far off. No.
It's bad poetry at the best.
I mixed it in with there's a local coffee place up here in Greater Seattle, which you might find hard to believe. There isn't a lot of coffee up here.
They're not known for their coffee.
They're definitely not known for their coffee up here in Seattle. There's no nationally recognized companies.
Dry coffee state.
That vend coffee, definitely not. But there's a place around here that doesn't do super great Americanos, which is sort of what I'm limited to.
Yeah, same.
On a diet. You can't put any milk or sugar into it. But I put some Jonas Curse into it, and it sounds maybe meh, but it's actually okay. And in fact, the back sweetening of the Jonas Curse, it actually makes the Americano suck less.
Really? I haven't even thought of that.
Symbiosis.
I try that sometimes. I do have a lot.
Symbiosis.
How was your week?
I had one of those weeks where I was busy every day.
Really?
But when I got to Friday and turned around, I hadn't gotten really any specific one of those things done. I was just
one of those, yeah.
It was just frustrating. I was frustrated yesterday. I mean, it's hard. It's already easy to kind of be over it on Friday.
100%.
But that's how I was.
I feel you.
But you know, it was okay.
Right on.
So how about you? How was your week?
Oh man, so kind of the same thing. I did a lot this week, and I couldn't recall any of it except for Friday.
Why is that?
I don't know if it's just because by the time I get home, I just erase it all from my mind.
That you've been drinking a lot of the Jonas Curse. Jonas Curse, our favorite rum.
But
drink now in stores everywhere.
well, most places. I haven't seen it everywhere. But anyways, I had jury duty on Friday, and
Fun.
you know what? Okay, first off, it kind of was fun only because. So for those who don't know out there, I'm what's known as a George Costanza in life. Nothing I do is ever simple or easy. Something's going to happen every time. For example, me and Pete here went on vacation, and before we even got to France, my cell phone and my wallet was gone.
It wasn't even my phone, and I was frustrated.
It was such a George Costanza moment because I knew where it was, and they would not let me back off the plane.
We're literally, Steve and I are sitting next to us in this fucking plane. You can literally see where we just got on the plane at, and that's where
I was sitting. Yeah,
and they're like, no, you're already on. We can't let you out. And it's like, you're fucking kidding.
We sat for an hour.
I could just walk there.
An hour of just sitting there waiting.
It wasn't It wasn't like we realized this 5 minutes before. No. It was like Steve immediately sat down and realized it. But yeah.
So I'm a very George Costanza like person. So anyways, I was told by my mother, which again, shout out to her for being wrong. She told me basically, hey, when you have jury service, you can go in any time before that date, which is correct. And you can kind of pick what day you go in. And if you pick a day that's on a 3-day weekend, you're better off to be dismissed. I was like, well, this is Father's Day weekend and Juneteenth. There's no way they're going to have a trial.
The courts don't want...
No. So
the courts don't really want to start anything before long.
So I get there. I get to jury duty, no problem. I get in there. And already it starts becoming a George Costanza kind of day. My buddy Corbin's there.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. And so Corbin sees me, and the first thing...
Hey, I didn't know you were going to be here.
He goes, oh, shit, if I saw you coming in earlier, I wouldn't have come in. And I'm like, oh, man. So we're sitting there, and, they're talking stuff. And so the first lady comes on, and she gives this long 30-minute...
So
I would call it...
Rewind just a little bit. You're not in the selection room.
No. We're in the
at that
first
point they're starting
room. Yeah, the first room where they call people into the selection room. And so this lady comes on, and she's got like these drunk Karen took a microphone on a bus tour vibe to her. And she starts talking on the microphone. And
straight to jury duty.
And the first thing she starts talking about is like, hey, so here's what's going on today. We have one trial. And I'm like, oh, cool. There's like 100 of us here. That should be, very low odds. And she goes, but most of you may be sitting here from now till 5 p.m. And I'm like, I look at Corbin, I go, what? And then she goes on this 30-minute half tirade, half positivity thing of like 30 minutes of just, hey, you know what though? Even if you sit here all day till 5 p.m., it's not a waste of time. It's a civic duty, and you're doing something for your county. And I'm sitting here thinking, what is going on? And then out of nowhere, she's talking about like where there's food and stuff, and like where like she's already planning us for the worst. Like, okay, so if you're here, we have refrigerators for you to keep your lunches.
Are going to be here all day.
I'm like, oh god. Then she gets to the coffee machine. She just goes, "Don't use the coffee machine. It just spits out creamer directly to the floor." And I look at Corbin, and Corbin looks at me, and we both go, just unplug the machine. Or better yet, get rid of the machine. Why have it plugged in?
That's like...
And give people this
option. That's
not
functioning anymore. That's shit's fucking broken.
You're giving people this option to go over there and press...
Oh my God.
So I went over there, because I had to know. And there's a sign on the machine, and it's on, and it's ready to be used. And as I'm about to just kind of...
I can't believe
fidget with it, this lady goes, no, the creamer.
Right.
The creamer.
No, please, the creamer, guys.
Like, no. It was just like, okay, fine. So this all happens. I go back and sit down.
He only spits out creamer. Did they happen to name the machine anything? Say Moneyshot or something like that?
It was weird. And there's like a stain on the floor for where clearly pounds and pounds of creamer have ejected
pounds
from
of
the
creamer
machine because they just won't unplug. I just don't understand why they don't unplug it.
I gotta wonder. I mean, you can look at a stain and kind of get an idea of how old it is. Were there multiple like overlapping stains where people had just kind of said "fuck it" and gone for it? an old Moneyshot had gotten some creamer.
I'm not gonna
all
lie,
out.
I did not sit and analyze it, but I'm gonna say yes. Yes, clearly it's been there for enough time that this is now part of her spiel, and rather than unplugging it, it's just a reality.
Exactly.
So, anyways, this happens.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there for a little bit longer, and then they start calling the first names, right? The names that are going in.
Right.
And they're calling names and stuff, and I'm counting on my fingers because they're like, we're gonna call 30 names. So I'm counting on my fingers. We get to 10, and I look at Corbin. I go, okay, that's 10 down. He looks at me and he goes, dude, it's alphabetical. And I go,
and to reiterate, if there's like 100 of you in there and they're only calling 30,
good chances.
It's like what? It's like a 3% chance you might get called.
Right.
But of course, it would increase over time, but that's relatively low.
But the alphabetical thing didn't hit me
Right.
because they started on C's, and Corbin's last name is a B. I don't want to say his last name on air. And so he looks at me after I say, "Oh, we're already 1/3 of the way through." And he goes, "Dude, it's alphabetical." And I go back to listening, and they're immediately on like M's. And I'm like, "What?" And then by the time they're at like the 20s, they're at W's. And I'm sitting here thinking, I'm screwed. So they didn't call me. But during this, it was like
it's a struggle, man.
Dude.
It's a struggle having a last name that starts
last
with
letter.
one of the later characters, isn't there?
And so, but during this time too, it was like a Tim and Eric sketch while she's trying to pronounce these names. She was pronouncing names that aren't easy names, like Paul, Paul, and like Frederick. She was like Frederick. It was so weird. And I was just like, what is going on? I felt like I was in a sketch. So, and then after all this, right, they call those people up, they send them up, and we're all still sitting in there. And then they put on this 30-minute video of everything that she had already talked about, but now with judges talking to you and like jurors coming in. And it was like an infomercial, and they're trying to sell you like, you know what? I didn't want to do this, but I'm happy I did. This was a lot of fun. But I'm like, why are they selling? Why are they? It was like this 1990s style, again, Tim and Eric-y, grainy video.
Right.
Of real life jurors convincing us how great it is to really be picked. And then like I look at Corbin, right? And I go, man, maybe, because they're talking about how to get dismissed. I'm like, maybe I'll be dismissed as a teacher. Immediately when I say that, the video is like going, well, what do you do for work, juror? And they go, oh, I'm a teacher.
Oh, teacher.
Fuck. So immediately when that happens, sound goes off, which usually means like, oh, they're going to start talking to us. So they wait about 10 minutes, they start talking to us. And instead of, I thought this was like, oh crap, they need more people. They go on another spiel, and they're like, okay, so here's how this works. You know, if you do get called, you get $15 a day, which was like, what? See,
laughable.
You know, minimum wage. Imagine that only once a day.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah.
So she does that, and then she starts talking about like, so if they don't have any more trials here, they're gonna call Indio and San Bernardino County and see if they need jurors.
Oh my god, really?
All I could think was like, don't they have their own people that are?
Why is that? Yeah.
Why do we have to do this?
How is that legal? If you're going to one county, like that seems like it was just a method to fuck over the.
Yeah.
That seems really shitty to me. Of all the things you've said, I'm the most offended about that because it's just like, well, because your shitty county couldn't have people show up. Now we have to help them out too.
Yeah.
What the fuck? And you're not fucking over the people that didn't show up, right? You're fucking over the people that did show up.
Yeah. Yeah, so this in and out idea for my mother is bullshit at this point because now it's like been 2 hours.
Right.
So we're sitting there for longer, and this interlude, we're sitting in there, and this lady comes in with a granola bar, and there's nothing wrong with this, but it bothered me so much. I've never heard a rapper that was so loud.
Sure.
It was like grinding of gears as she opens this wrapper in dead silence and starts munching on the thing, and she's across the room.
Right.
And I'm looking around, I feel like I'm in a movie. But anyways, 2.5 hours later, she comes back on the thing, and she goes, okay, I'm going to call the next people into the room. However, it is going to be the rest of you. I'm going to start calling names.
So what's the point in calling? Just fucking have everybody come up.
Well, so she's like, I'm going to call names first. So you say here, and then I'll tell you where you're going. And I'm like, shit. So she goes through this whole spiel, right? It takes about another 10, 15 minutes of hell where she's mispronouncing everybody's name. At the very end.
Totally unnecessary, once again.
Yeah.
You don't need to do it.
And then this is how I know that she may be going to hell if hell exists. She then goes, okay, all of you, you're all going home. Have a great day. And I was just like, why? Why did we just spend the last half an hour
calling names?
Making us sit here and like...
Well,
terror.
You have a list of like the people who are there, right? I mean,
Right,
I
yeah,
guess
they
it makes
do.
sense on the basis you need like a certain amount of people, so calling one by one makes sure you get that count. But if you have a list of everyone who's supposedly there, go to the one that's like, if you need 50 people, go to the 50th name and say, everybody whose last name starts with something before that, get the fuck up and let's go.
Yeah.
Rather than calling
No,
all 50 people. Jesus.
it was so silly. I mean, it was like they were calling roll to make sure those people were still
Right.
there. Which I
Right.
can imagine if somebody wasn't there, would they just be like, "Oh, they're not getting dismissed. We're gonna call them again." But anyways, that was my progress in the civic duties world this week, and
Yeah.
today I
So,
went through axes.
it's funny because the experience is similar. The people that come out of jury duty say something similar. And so I've been to jury duty exactly once. I got picked for a trial. I did the whole trial. And honestly, I want to say it was kind of fun, but I also wasn't working at the time. I had just finished school, so I didn't have anything else to do.
Right.
And it wasn't super far from my house, so it wasn't really hard to do.
No.
I guess, and it's funny, let me start off by saying, I think the fundamental thing about jury duty that is always interesting to me is how much they spend time on like motivating you to not leave.
That's
I get
that was pretty
why.
much most of it.
Right. I get why they do it because a lot of people it's painful for. Some people have like real hardships and they have to like convince them, but they go really fucking hard to motivate it. Because when I got
and it's like whenever they see somebody walking out, they're just saying stuff like,
"Get your fat ass back here."
and it's annoying. It's
they're
so
like, red alert.
it's
Get
so
that guy.
bad.
But I think they go really hard on it because when I got selected, you go in this fucking room with
Right.
everybody who's there. They start calling names like they said. And the first thing they do is exactly what you said. Someone comes out, drums up a little speech about saying, thank you very much, shames you into saying, like I'm here doing a civic duty, blah, 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 blah. But after I got selected, I got into the courtroom, I got picked. We had gone through the whole thing where the lawyers are asking you questions and shit like that. And the judge goes on this speech. And honest to God, I didn't think the judge was bad. I liked the judge. But she did this speech that was kind of like, she brings up a picture of a beach and she says, oh, my grandchildren would really love this beach. Here's what that beach looked like, 70 years ago. And it's Normandy. It's Omaha Beach on the beaches of Normandy in northern France. And it's just like, okay, like I get what you're saying. And she goes on to say, if an 18-year-old kid could jump out of a boat, prepared to die, you could certainly sit here for a trial. And I just said to myself, it was unnecessary at the beginning because I'm already here.
Right, you've already been picked.
Try to
You're
motivate
stuck
me.
in there.
And it's even less necessary now because I've already been picked for the trial. Like I'm here.
one who
like
sucks!
it's just fucking insane to me. The point is, and the thing that I get to, it's literally illegal to ignore your jury summons. Now you can get out of it, you can delay
it's
it.
a fine or arrested.
Or arrested. And when I got into the courtroom, when I got selected, they said someone didn't show up, and the bench right there did this whole spiel about, here's a bench warrant for their arrest. And honestly, I think it was fake to try to convince us not to leave. But once again, you're targeting people who are already there. I've already made the point of being here. So why are you trying to motivate me? I'm not going anywhere. I've already taken my
It's a
time
lot like
doing
those teachers that sit and discipline everybody for one kid's actions.
Right. I can't fucking.
I can't take it anymore.
Well, it's
Just
kind of
frustrating as heck.
It's like they lock in on one thing, which I think is very realistic, which is to say, you know what, I get it. Nobody wants to be here. It's a long time. It's kind of a hard process. But rather than say that, they say, thanks for being here. If you leave, you're a terrible person, and your government will hate you for it. And it's just like,
You're
why?
all losers.
I'm fucking here. But
Yeah, it's so bad.
But I have to mention it because I think maybe now there's a conspiracy afoot. Because you talked about who I'm naming Old Moneyshot. I'm guessing County Courthouse somewhere
Old
in
Moneyshot?
Riverside. Old Moneyshot, the coffee machine that you said spilled creamer everywhere.
Oh,
After we
That
got
was his name.
after we finished the trial, conspiracy
that's
is
what you get.
after we finished the trial, we got into the
Mm-hmm.
deliberation room. This little sealed room that's just big enough for 12 of us, where we talk through the trial. Right.
Yeah.
Our trial was 2 misdemeanors, and I won't go into that, but it was going to be relatively quick to decide. It wasn't really like a huge deal. Apparently, I mean, let me say, it was probably a big deal to the person who was being charged with the crime. But
Right.
to everybody around it, we were kind of like, well, why are we even here? Like, it's 2 misdemeanors.
easy, yeah.
Like, just talk them into like a $100 fine or whatever. But we knew it was going to be a quick deliberation, but it was long enough, probably like an hour, to make coffee. I offered to make everybody coffee. They had a really gigantic 1980s Ronald Reagan full metal coffee machine in there.
It didn't spit creamer on the floor.
It didn't spit creamer on the floor, but you want to know what? Because I'm not a coffee expert. I'm not a coffee expert, Steve.
Okay.
When you make coffee, you pour water in the machine, right?
That's how it works, I believe.
That water is supposed to stay in the machine until you're making coffee, right? That water instantly spewed all over the floor. And it was like a deluge. Like a whole coffee pot full of water came out. And all the jurors are looking at me like I did something wrong.
Like
so this is
you
some
fucked
personal
up.
anxiety. Yeah, but I'm sitting here looking at the machine going, I put the filter in. I found where the water went, goes in the tank. I poured the water in, and it just spilled out. And so now that you've talked about the horrible coffee machine at the Riverside Courthouse, I'm sitting here going, does the government sabotage all jury duty coffee machines? There's honestly no other way. There's no other way it's possible.
I'm going to say yes.
Yeah. They just
Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't they?
They just want us to be more miserable. All they talk about being here and loving it is just horseshit.
Here's what I don't get. If they really want us to be there, what?
That was a horse, right?
Why not
Hold
make it?
on.
Why not make it more comfortable? Make it more exciting. That's a bunch of barn.
That's a bunch of barn.
So yeah, that was jury duty.
It sounds like you got something out of it. At least it's a funny story, because I'm sure there's a certain amount of people who go into jury duty and get picked for like terrible trials, and then they're stuck there. Not only are they like already kind of fucked for their time, they're away from their job. They're at a courthouse 8 hours a day doing all just being uncomfortable in public and the government, kind of swallowed up by government process. Yeah.
7 to 5 or 8 to 5. That was the hours. 8 to 5.
That's a full-time job, man. Considering you get $15, man, that doesn't even cover lunch anymore. A full lunch is in the neighborhood of $20 nowadays.
Easily.
Yeah.
Easily, if you want to eat good stuff. If you want
fine.
cheapy crap, that's different.
Fine. I believe in the legal system. I believe everyone's entitled to a jury for their peers, but it certainly could be better. That's for sure. You know what? I know in Riverside, where we grew up, you do that call-in thing, right? They give you the summons. You can call in for a few days, and if you get to the end of the week where you're calling in saying, should I show up? And they say, no, you're done.
And you're dismissed, yeah.
Why don't they just call me on the phone and say, what's your age, where do you work, what's your education? Because they could just do a selection, like a profile for selection right there. Just play them out for the lawyers in the room. And then if they have any doubts, just call and say 24 of you rather than all 100 of you. And pick from those. But you already have an idea what we're going to say.
Yeah, that's what they're going to do anyways, right? They're going to bring you up and ask you questions. And
Yeah. Can I talk about goats for a second, Steve?
I would like nothing more.
Have you ever thought about...
Please talk about them.
Have you ever thought about goats and sheep? And I'm lumping them together for one reason, and that's the BAAAAH sound that they make, okay? Let me play you another sample, just in case you didn't catch it. And then a little bit of this. They make the same sort of sound. It's kind of like a BAAAAH. It's kind of like a bleat. It's, one of those things. Have you ever sat there and thought, wow, these animals are fucking assholes?
I've never thought that. No, I've always thought
You
they were
haven't?
very, very good. No.
You've never sat there and thought, wow, this motherfucker's basically just yelled at me from across a field?
We're talking about goats or sheep?
Either. Both. It's a menace to society, Steve.
But the problem...
Yeah, what are you going to say?
Sheep only have 50... Well, sheep are they're just different creatures, right? They have 54 chromosomes. They're in the Ovis Aries classification, while as goats are Capra agaricus hircus and have 60 chromosomes.
I hear you. I hear you, Mr. Whale Biologist, but I just want to point out they're assholes. They're assholes. They eat paper. They eat cans. Anything in your pocket or upon you, including your clothes, is fair game to chew upon. And then they have the fucking audacity when they're standing maybe 20 feet away from you to yell at you. Just like that. They're assholes. Goats and sheep are assholes. I'm putting you guys on notice. If I see a sheep or I see a goat out there, don't expect me to be nice.
So here's the problem with that. Sheep are known to have a really good memory.
Is that so?
And yeah, it's actually believed that they can remember up to like 50 different sheep faces as well as human faces.
Is that what Google Facts is giving you, right?
Yeah, it is.
First off, interesting. Second off.
Yeah. Calling me out for my research.
What? That's fine. That's fine.
I like it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think they yell at you. I think they yell with you. You know how many sheep there are in the world?
How many?
About 1 billion.
1 billion sheep? What's
About
crazy
a
to
billion.
What's crazy to me is you'd think that number would be closer to the same number of people, just because we do eat sheep and we use them for, non-synthetic wool and stuff like that.
It's also the first animal ever cloned.
Since you're on Google, yeah, Dolly the sheep, right?
Yeah, Dolly.
That was back when we were kids. So riddle me this, since you're already on Google.
Yeah.
How much wool does a sheep produce, say, per year? Like, I don't
per
really know
year?
what. Yeah, I was gonna say I can't really tell you what the weight of like a wool
4.5
sweater
kilograms.
is. 4.5
Equivalent
kilos.
of 10 equivalent of over 10 meters of fabric.
10 meters of fabric. So I mean, in freedom units, that's a little over, say, 332
About one
feet,
large
31
sofa.
feet. Yeah, that's pretty decent for one sheep. So 1 billion sheep
Not bad.
could make 1 billion sofa-sized garments. That's actually, it seems relatively efficient.
In 2022, the world wool production in clean weight terms increased by 15,600 tons, or 1.5%, to an estimated of 1,051.2 mkg. What's an mkg? Mega kilogram? No, that's
Mega
not.
kilograms? What's a
That's what I was
millikilogram?
thinking.
Like 1,000 kilograms?
That's what I was
I'd say
thinking. I'm trying to see what
if it's not
MKG
if it's not mega kilograms, then the world has gone awry, and honestly, the metric system is useless. So it's mega
is
kilogram now.
KPM or MKP for older publications. Kilopondometer?
That was that French? I didn't understand a word of that.
It is Latin.
Latin. German.
No, it's German.
Oh, well, I'm ashamed.
Kilopondometer.
That didn't sound like German at all.
Either way, it's a lot. It's a lot of wool. It's a sheep ton of wool.
I think that's interesting, but my point is this. Goat and sheep are jackasses.
Oh, God, no!
And my name is Pete.
And my name is Steve, and hope we wasted some of your time today.
We definitely did. that one precious commodity of your life taken away from you by two men in rooms far, far away. Talking
Two men
about
by the names of Pete and Steve have wasted your time.
Waste your time. Bye.
Goodbye.
PnS Waste Your Time is a production of Pete and Steve. All characters and events in the show are entirely fictional, and any resemblance to any real people are entirely coincidental.
PnS Waste Your Time. Thanks for listening.